And we're off. How you doing, everyone? Welcome back to Wrestling Forever. As you can see, we're not necessarily... Well, Ryan is exactly where he should be. I'm on the road. I'm away gigging on tour in Birmingham. So I'm in what has got to be said. I want to say the hottest fucking hotel on the planet, but not in like the cool kind of player good way. It is fucking boiling in this room.
Would you like to start the episode by giving some kind words to Birmingham? Do you have any opinions on Birmingham? You seem to hear the same thing about Birmingham from everybody.
I like the people in Birmingham. I like the people,
go.
but it does also
That's
have
nice.
one of the highest crime rates for robbing and violence in the UK. So, fuck man, like I'm here just sitting across from the bull ring. If you've ever been in Birmingham, sitting across from the bull ring,
I've never been actually.
It's just like a giant empty building, giant fucking empty building, man,
Right,
giant empty building. But it's looking okay. I'm delighted to be talking some wrestling. Let's put it that way. I'm delighted to be talking some wrestling, and there is a lot to cover. We are 1 week away from WrestleMania. Ryan, how do you feel about it?
This is it. We're on the final stretch now. It's been a bit longer than usual. I think the biggest adjustment for me this year has been how long the wait between the Royal Rumble and Mania is.
Yeah.
And I think that, I know this is kind of a topic in itself, and I don't want to bring in a big discussion point this early in the podcast when you've just asked my opinions of Mania, but I think that WWE need to learn a lesson from this. Yeah. There was all those rumours that last year that WWE were strongly considering having a May WrestleMania, and unless the Royal Rumble moves to a later date as well, I just don't think that's possible, because I'm excited for Mania. I really came round to it more as we're approaching it. It's took me some time, but being at some shows really helped.
Yeah.
But you look at, for example, Jay and Gunther and how long that took to get cooking. It took far too long because of the wait we've had. So I hope WWE learned from this. I hope that this is a kind of one-off. I think we can all agree the build to WrestleMania 41 has been lackluster and more on the weak side when you compare it to the build for WrestleMania 40, which was one of the hottest builds ever in WrestleMania. It's been a letdown.
Do you know what I think part of the thing is there's so many first. Excuse me, I've got one fucking bit of hair that for some reason is sticking straight up. You ever seen that?
It's a look. It's a look.
Oh my dude, I don't even know how I'm doing that. I'm getting that fixed. That was so weird. But like a fucking antenna. Hey, what the hell?
Why do you think that I wear a hat every single episode?
Right, well, I think part of the problem is there was so many firsts on the way. The journey. You think of everything that's been packed in. You just said it. European tour, Raw and SmackDown going on the road, Netflix, Saturday night main event. I think there was a lot to pack in, and I wonder if WWE had basically went, right, we're going to have to extend this period in order to get to WrestleMania. It feels like there's been a lot in there, but it did feel a little like, don't forget, WrestleMania's coming. WrestleMania is coming. Don't worry. Oh, remember this? This is going to be a WrestleMania. It's like, yeah, we know. So, I don't think the build's been that good. It couldn't match WrestleMania 40. I don't see how they could have matched WrestleMania 40.
Do you think that's part of the problem this year? Do you think they set the bar really high for WrestleMania 40, the first real Triple H Mania, and then
completely
it was maybe just hard to follow?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. I mean, what was the joke? It used to be like the odd number WrestleMania was always about. Although if you go back in history, that's bullshit. So I want to just call anyone out on that. Yeah, I mean, we had the Cody Rhodes story. We had the Bloodline at its hottest. We had Sammy and we had Sammy and Kevin. There was so much in WrestleMania 40. There was so much. How are we going to replicate that in 12 months, including some superstars aging out, releases, people moving on, people coming in. We're trying to build people coming in, injuries, the Netflix era, which felt like that was everything. I think WWE did a pretty good job of not feeling like it was completely on hold, but you did kind of feel like you're saving.
It was almost as if like the late 2024 stage and so far this year has been really dedicated to the Netflix deal, which is maybe taking a little bit of wind out of the sails of WrestleMania season, perhaps.
Yeah, it's our first WrestleMania of the Netflix season. Royal Rumble I feel Royal Rumble is kind of the same a little bit as well. It was kind of like, oh shit, it's the Rumble. It just kind of jumped on in us. But I think at this point it's get on board or go home with this. So it's WrestleMania. I don't know what people are expecting. We're breaking down in next week's episode. It's going to be a bit WrestleMania centric. Ryan's just had a brilliant idea about us going over WWE.com and looking at some of the merch they have over there, particularly in Eurozone, where we get really shit on. I've got to say, I think we get some absolute shiters on the Euros.
Oh, we do.
Shop. We get some
You should have seen. You should have seen the state of that London mega store in the O2 last week. Oh my goodness, God
Dreadful.
Almighty, Billy! It's
Dreadful.
some of the worst stuff I've ever seen. Although you could buy yourself a signed Rangers commemorative belt by Drew McIntyre for a good £900 if you wanted that.
In London.
In London.
Who's making that money? Where's that money going?
It's just insane, some of the stuff they try to flog to us. But you're right, Billy. It's about trying to get on board. And I think just kind of as a final thoughts thing here, there has been WrestleManias in the past where the build has been particularly weak. I looked to exactly 10 years ago, WrestleMania 31. It's one of my favourite WrestleManias of all time. The build was terrible. It was a really poor build. Sometimes the show itself just delivers, and I do have faith that WrestleMania next week will deliver.
Nailed it. I mean, WrestleMania 30 was particularly strong. I enjoyed WrestleMania 31. Let's move on. Don't like Mania's being outside though. I'm going to continue that as a thread. Don't like Mania's being outside. But moving on, right. We wanted to each bring a story. We're probably going to jump in some ayes, no's in the middle of this. But one story we wanted to talk about, the pair of us, was Kevin Owens. Now, the stories came out, of course, if you haven't seen it yet, that Kevin Owens will not be able to compete at WrestleMania. Due to be in a big match with Randy Orton, which a lot of work had been done behind the scenes of, pretty much on the back of Randy's return, going all the way back to November time. Now, so it's said that this injury is legitimate. Of course, because it's pro wrestling, nobody's exactly sure. There has been rumors of everything from Kevin Owens being off for 6 months to a few years with this injury. This is something you were saying, Ryan, it looks like it's something they've picked up because it's come out of nowhere and they went, you're not wrestling. You're just not wrestling. You're not, which is a worrying thing to say, but we also know the WWE's doctors are quite particular when it comes to what the athletes are able to do and not do in the ring. Probably a part of Endeavour as well. But go back. You mentioned it, the Daniel Bryan situation, when Daniel one day was like, no wrestling anymore.
Yep.
You can
just came from nowhere.
2 or 3 years time, but not now. So, what's your thoughts on it, man? Do you think, first of all, do you think it's a work?
Well, no, I don't. And I would like to say on that regard to Kevin Owens, best of luck, Godspeed, and hopefully he'll be okay. I know he's not going to be hearing any of these words, but I do like to raise the sentiment of hopefully he is back soon. He's one of my top 5 of all time. I love the guy, and I'm devastated. I'm gutted. I don't think it's a work. I think that's pretty clear at this point, unless there is one massive last-ditch swerve in the next 8 days, which would be pretty good, but I really doubt it. Yeah, I'm gutted. So I believe that Dave Meltzer came out and said, and this is Dave Meltzer, so you've got to take things with a pinch of salt nowadays, that he believes that the surgery has happened the 7th of April. Apparently, he got the surgery and he could be out between 12 and 15 months. But then we're hearing all these conflicting reports from other places that it could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be any time, it might be indefinite. We don't know.
I even heard 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, like I think ultimately the only people who'll know is Kevin Owens himself, the surgeons who performed the surgery, and Triple H, the guys at the top of WWE. These are the guys that will know. Maybe Sami Zayn, because it's his best mate. We are not going to know, and when he comes back, it'll be a great surprise. But Billy, what I will say is I'm gutted, and I hope they can make something magic out of this for Randy, because I think that Kevin versus Randy was one of the only matches in the card that had a really compelling story behind it.
Star power as well.
We had star power as well. We had months of storytelling leading to this moment, all the way back to you think back to Bash in Berlin, when Kevin Owens lost to Cody Rhodes for the first time. That was really when this story started. So this was a year's worth of storytelling that suddenly WWE have just had to let go, and I think that's what's most devastating for me, because Randy Orton hasn't had a one-on-one match like this in a long time at Mania. Like, it's just not happened. And Kevin Owens is
all the way back
a star.
to Seth Rollins. Is it going all the way back to Seth Rollins?
I think the last... No, he would have had the match with Bray. I think that was the last time. Bray at
Oh
WrestleMania
God,
37.
yeah.
So we try our best not to remember it, but so this would have been his first singles match at Mania, I believe, since 2021. You're
It's
talking
incredible.
4 years. And now we really need to hope for something as compelling as what him and Kevin Owens was, and who knows what that'll be.
No, yeah, I think you've nailed it there, man. First of all, we do give her something. I kind of hope, like, as a long term thing, Kevin Owens is so fantastic on the mic. Kevin Owens is such an incredible mind for the pro wrestling business as well. I would hope that Kevin Owens is around, not just an agent. I hope that he's kept on board as an on screen character. If I think there's mileage there. If you want to do something with Kevin
Yeah.
Owens, there's plenty of mileage there. Let's keep him in the conversation. Let's keep him on air. Maybe not immediately. Maybe like 6 months or something. Maybe first time they're doing a big show in Canada. Boom, out comes Kevin Owens as new interim Raw GM. Make him the new sheriff of WWE. Do
He's
whatever you
like,
need to do.
remember back in the days when you had like Arn Anderson as the enforcer,
Yeah,
or Sergeant Slaughter as like the enforcer. Get Kevin Owens in to do that. We
something like
must.
that. I guess it depends as what he can do physically, but I think it would be a shame not to have Kevin Owens on the mic. Let him put a faction together. Let him do something like that. Like, there's a role for Kevin Owens off screen. There's a role for Kevin Owens on screen. I would hope they do that. I mean, it's sympathies as well, because we know Kevin's just signed what he was calling his last contract, 5 years. So I guess that's not the way he wanted things to go down. But I would hope that he would find a place in pro wrestling, and I hope that things do work out and Kevin has some time with his family and can get back on the road very quickly. Because I know that's a big thing for him, regardless whether heel or face. His family's a huge thing for him, and his giant son. Kevin Owens
He's giant son. He's absolutely huge son.
Get that boy signed up.
Who's going to be signed sometime soon,
Oh,
probably. I will say as well, before we do just move on to the next subject, it was really unfortunate timing for the Chris Van Fleet interview, because I don't know if you've watched it yet, but that came out yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was filmed just before the announcement, and I think before even Kevin Owens knew that he had to hang it up for a while. So we didn't really get any insight in that, but it's gutting because you heard him talk about WrestleMania and working with Randy, and
yeah,
it made me feel quite sad knowing that we've been robbed of that. Unless this is, as you said at the start, a huge work.
If it is a huge work, I'd be surprised that they'd managed to talk Kevin into doing it so quickly. Like, just being like, oh, it seems kind of pointless. Why are we doing it on the build? We already had the build. So
like
what does
2
this
weeks
really
until
add
Mania.
to it? Yeah, it doesn't really add to anything. So
the only thing that would make sense, and once again, I can't help but reiterate, I don't think it's a work, but the only thing that would make sense is if this is just his whole angle to avoid being punted. Like, oh, my neck hurts, so Randy, you can't punt my head. That's the only thing that logically makes sense to me, but I just don't think it's the case.
Let's put it this way. If we see Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, then we'll know something else is going on. Maybe it's a way to take one less match. We could say it all day. If it's legitimate, we have our sympathies. We hope everything's good, and we hope you're back doing stuff on screen. If it's not genuine, then okay, let's see where this goes. Let's see where this goes. Next one, this news just in. So it looks like Chris Jericho is done with ROH. It looks like that's him due to his time as ROH World Champion. They got a TV deal in place. They got a bit of attention in place. He obviously lost the title to Bandito at the weekend, and now it looks like that's Chris Jericho done and either heading back to the main AEW roster, or looks like he's taking a little time off to tour with Fozzy, which he never seems to fucking not be touring with Fozzy, to be completely honest. Chris Jericho's the only full-time wrestler I know that has another full-time job at the same time. What's your thoughts on this? Is this good, or do we need time with Jericho away? Do we need time with Jericho away?
Well, apparently this Fozzy tour is going to be lasting to like mid-May, so he probably won't be involved in any TV capacity until late May, June at the earliest. I think that's good. At the end of the day, I'm just going to say it how I've thought the last couple of years. I think that Jericho should call it a day altogether. Whatever he does next should be his final run, in my opinion. I love him. He's one of my favourites of all time, but he is damaging his legacy, I think. I don't know. I feel really harsh saying it. I've just got a little bit fed up and tired of some of the shtick. It's not been as entertaining as it was initially when he went to AEW.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, through all the criticism, through all the please retire chants, through everything else, he has tried to help. I think he's done everything with the best intentions in mind. I'll never take that away from him. I think he's tried to elevate whatever he's done. I feel like he's tried to help elevate Ring of Honor to the position that it's in just now. But honestly, I think that this break could do the world for him because people were getting sick and tired of Chris Jericho.
Well, I think the thing is that Jericho had such a hot run. Such a hot run when he first started with AEW, going all the way.
Le Champion.
Yeah, Le Champion, going all the way through the Inner Circle, which was I'll be honest, the name for a faction I never fucking liked. I just never liked it. Just always reminded me of Meet the Fockers. You're in the circle. You're in the. I mean, it just always reminded me of that every time I heard it.
Fair enough.
And it made some stars out of some people. Like everyone that was involved, apart from Jake Hager, everyone kind of got elevated in some way and has gone on to do great things. I think those boys are getting there on their own. So I'm kind of a bit sullen because I loved Jericho's run when he first came in as Le Champion. But at the moment, I think the world title picture I think the main event title picture is quite weak. And it feels like if Jericho is going to be a part-timer, then like, what do? Do you put him into, main event upper card programs, or do you have him just trying to elevate guys in the base? Because you can only do that for so long, Ryan, before you start kind of fucking.
Well, this is what I'm
a little bit.
This is what I'm saying, man. The guy is 54. By the time he comes back, he'll be coming up 55. I just think that it's time that he called it. I think Jericho himself knows that his time in AEW is coming to an end because there was that interview a couple of weeks ago where he said he's open to coming back to WWE.
Yeah.
Now, that's very nice of Jericho to say. I don't know if WWE will be as eager to have him back as an in-ring performer. I think they'd love to have him back as a personality. I think they'd love to have him back on TV because he's very entertaining. But I think that him himself knows that the in-ring career is coming to an end. So whatever he does do next, I don't think it really matters if it's upper mid-card, if it's main event, if it's lower mid-card or whatever. I think ultimately we should be winding things down.
Say beyond a couple of matches in WWE, I totally agree. You'd have to be used so sparingly that it's like you're not going to be on TV every week, you're not going to be wrestling every week. We'd have to find the position to put you in. Maybe there'd be a couple of, I don't know, maybe... I think that's it at best. In AEW, I almost wish he was doing the Jeff Jarrett storyline. Take some time off, then come back in AEW telly and go, right, this is it. I think
that's the right way to go.
I want one last world title. I want the world title before I hang this up. Is the title that I made the world title, that I elevated, and I want one more shot, and then I'm done. And I think
that sounds great.
You know what I mean? Like a year of that, you can have him wrestling.
Because you either get the whole, sorry to cut you off. You obviously get you can either have him win it, and let's just say it runs to his last match. He wins it, retires with the championship, it vacates, whatever. Or you have Jericho going out in his back like the old timers are meant to, and he just couldn't get that one last title, and it's an emotional ending to the story. And I think that's a way to maybe bring back a lot of the people who found themselves so disengaged with Chris Jericho over these last 2 or 3 years. Yeah. By having him go out like that, by putting somebody over, and by having the emotional aspect of, wow, he didn't do it, he didn't win the title.
Yeah, something like that. Even if Jericho then kicks somebody in the balls in that last match, then he is an outside ring performer. He's not wrestling anymore. I say Don Callis, but I think Don Callis does it pretty well. And I think they've dropped the ball a little bit with Don Callis, may I say.
Yeah, I would agree. So
like, there's a guy, there's a heat magnet, and I just don't feel they're making good use of him just now. By the way, I think Jericho could still contribute to AEW. I don't doubt that for a second, actually. Or maybe go back to WWE for a run. He has done a stellar run in AEW. I think they need to find the way to wind it up. I think that's it.
Yeah. It's just this kind of... This last year has really, I think, accelerated that conversation just because that's when it's got most stale. But I mean, you look at the best work he's done in AEW, it was some of the best work of his career. Like, it was fantastic when he was reinventing himself when he first got there. It was, and we shouldn't take that away from him. I did have a question in mind though, like just on the topic of him potentially going back to WWE one day and him saying he was open to it. And you might have a different answer from me, and
Right.
I can't help but exaggerate the fact that he's one of my favorites of all time. But
Yep.
do you have any hunger for, like, is there any particular WrestleMania match that you think Jericho should do? Because I genuinely can't think of any. That's why I'm like, I don't know if there's much for him to do as an in-ring talent.
I mean,
Because I really don't care about Jericho being on the marquee.
I'd love to see him and Owens have another run around, but we know that's probably not going to happen. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I hear people being down on Chris Jericho, but you think of the body of work that man's had for 30 fucking years.
It is one of the great, and I can't help but make this perfectly clear that even though I've been massively against this last year and a half, maybe 2 years of what he's done, it does not outweigh, and I hate when people online try to pretend that outweighs the 30 plus years of work that he has done, because he has been one of the constantly entertaining names in professional wrestling, whether it's back in the Japan days, his early WWF days when he was Y2J, whether it was the reinvention of the heel Jericho in the late 2000s, whether it was his he's just constantly entertained, and that should outweigh these last couple of years.
Yeah, 100%. I think now's the time to figure out with it. You know something? He's not a dummy. He's probably sitting figuring this out right now as we speak. Him leaving AEW, him leaving ROH is probably the first steps to that. You know what I mean? Like, when Jericho signed that last contract, he had to know, well, I'm not going to be doing this in 5 years' time, unless he's looking at Ric Flair and stuff like that and going, oh, I'm going to be doing what Ric Flair's doing. It's like, fuck. Right, okay, fair enough. But you're not Ric Flair. And I mean that not in a bad way. I mean, it's a different story. I don't think anyone needs to see. But hey, you know something? The best of bloody luck to him. Go away and be an old rock and roller, be like Lemmy or something like that. You know, go away and do that, and that'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. Right, a couple of things I wanted to talk about as well, if you don't mind.
Of course.
One of them was Triple H. Triple H getting called out on Jimmy Fallon because he completely changed his retelling of WrestleMania 12 and the Ultimate Warrior story. So he talks about.
I did watch the Jimmy Fallon interview. I watched all 10 minutes of it. All 10 minutes they put on YouTube. And it was good. Yeah, it was good to see him on Jimmy Fallon. It's not that often we see Triple H doing stuff like that. It's usually, Cody Rhodes or Seth or Roman or whatever. Yeah. So it was nice to see Triple H in that position. But yes, continue what you were saying.
So there was a whole thing they were talking about. This is a photo of you at WrestleMania 12, and he goes, I got squashed, but I was in there with a legend, and it was my first WrestleMania, and how great was that? Then it cuts to the self-destruction of Ultimate Warrior DVD, and it's like, I thought he was a dick. It's like. People are calling them out on it.
When was the self-destruction of Ultimate Warrior filmed? What year did that come out?
Oh man, I don't know. That's maybe like 2003 or something. That's
it's just nuts to see the difference of Triple H's attitude in general from that point in time to now. He's like a different human being, isn't he?
I mean, that's the thing. If you're the person you were 10 years ago, you're fucked up in life, probably. I just found it so funny that people were going, "Oh, you see, he always did the ultimate, fucking turncoat." It's like, no, he's just fucking evolved. So those are my clown of the weeks on the internet. Those are my clown of the weeks.
There you go.
I get it. I get what you're saying, but for fuck's sake, man, he's allowed to change his opinion, and also
he's also allowed.
Ultimate Warrior's dead. There, I've said it. Things do change.
He is dead, and he's also on Jimmy Fallon, isn't he? He's hardly going to sit on Jimmy Fallon when the majority, 95% of Jimmy Fallon's audience don't give a shit about the backstage.
Yeah,
politics.
Exactly.
So Triple H sitting there and telling you that Ultimate Warrior was a dick is not really going to wash with most people.
Yeah. and as much as the Ultimate Warrior, what a legend, with even the legacy of him being an arsehole backstage, it's like, dude, how would you feel if a company you used to work for had gone out its way to make an entire DVD burying you in every way, shape,
Mhm.
or form. You actually
Yeah.
think about that, like that is like a big black mark in WWE to this day. To this day, that they did
It
an
was
entire production.
Vince's WWE was a different place.
Different place, baby. Different place. That had to
Different
go through
place.
so many stages before that got pressed and put on a DVD. So that's all I'm saying in regards to that. Have you got anything you want to talk about, mate?
I guess we could cover a bit of AEW's latest catastrophe. I feel like we would be ignorant not to bring it up because it blew up the internet on Monday following Dynasty, which I thought overall was a great show until the last 5 minutes. Yeah, Dynasty was good. Some great matches on there. Of course, we have the Owen Hart Cup underway and all the rest of it. But John Moxley versus Swerve Strickland. The reign of terror goes on, Billy. I know that you do not like Moxley at all, and I feel like everybody day by day is joining you in your pursuit of his head.
My problem with Moxley is this. I should like John Moxley, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I
But you
think
don't.
that's my big issue.
Yeah.
I don't see where this is going. I don't think he should be the world champion. It's not something that people seem to be particularly excited about. I think it's getting the wrong
Nope.
heat. I think Death
This
Rider
is the
is a
point.
stupid name as well. Somebody in the AEW, a department of naming shit, needs a fucking strong talking to. Like that needs a strong talking to because you're fucking appalling. That's it. You're appalling.
It's just so frustrating that we need to sit here at a point in time where AEW is doing mostly the right things to get back on track. You know,
Yeah,
they're doing so much good stuff.
100%.
You look at Mariah May, Tony Storm, what they've done to really excel the women's division. You look at what basically every male performer is doing to excel their divisions respectively. But then you get the hottest guy in the company, Swerve Strickland, who everybody is desperate to see win the title, and AEW are repeating the same mistakes by going forward with creative decisions that are turning people off from the program. It's turning me off. It's turning the casual viewers of AEW away from the program because they're giving the title constantly to people like John Moxley and keeping going. John Moxley's a fantastic worker. That's the thing. Like, he's a guy who's given so much to the business, deserves his flowers. But there's points in time where the guys at AEW, whether it's Tony Khan or whoever that's making these decisions, they need to realise they are repeating the same mistakes. And that all comes to one massive conclusion at the end of the show when the lights go out and none other than Nick and Matt Jackson are in the ring, ruining a main event and once again being shoved down our throat in the main event scene of AEW. Why?
Did you miss them? Did you even really notice they were gone?
No. They are two of the greatest tag wrestlers I've ever seen. I used to be a huge Young Bucks fan back in 2015, 2016, 2017. Loved them. Fantastic. They definitely have a place in professional wrestling. They definitely have a place in AEW. But they don't have a place in AEW doing what they've been doing over the last 3 years. And they don't have a place in AEW turning up in a main event match where Swerve Strickland should be cruising out as champion and they're costing him the match. Bizarre.
Like, why are the Young Bucks in there? Is that going to be where Swerve's going? Are you taking the Swerve away from the title? Are you doing the same thing where you cooled off Hangman Page? Remember when you just cooled off Hangman Page, and by the time he got to the world title, it was too late. It was too late. And also Punk was walking in the door, so everyone's eyes went, shush, there's Punk. I'm not going to go into too much. I thought we were moving away from Matt and I nearly said Matt and Jeff, Nick and Matt being back. Their EVP gimmick was shite, didn't go anywhere. Didn't see the point in it. Stop giving these guys big returns. Stop giving. Where does it go?
Somebody raised the point. Sorry, go on. Sorry, what were you saying?
No. I was just choking on my own outrage. That's all it was.
But somebody raised the point on social media, and I agreed with it completely. Another thing that first of all, Tony Khan is the master of his own downfall. He needs. I've said this since we started this podcast. He needs support in there. He needs somebody to be guiding him through these decisions because clearly, when the pressure is on to make a big decision, he just can't do it. But somebody raised the point in social media, slightly unrelated, but still kind of ties in. Like, AEW love abusing the lights off gimmick. Like, oh, the lights have went off. What's about to happen? Bang. Like, why do we need to turn the lights off every fucking hour? Like, we can do things in other ways, surely. It's like WWE abusing the brawl with a security angle, but AEW love to abuse the lights going off.
And you know something goes all the way back to ECW. It's all their fault. It's all their fault with the bloody lights off. Goes all the way back to ECW. Who used it to full effect. Although every time they would do, I mean, they wouldn't do it that much, but every time they do it, it'd be like Sabu returning, or it would be Jerry the King Lawler turning up in the ECW arena and stuff like that. I think one time, it was Jim Cornette of all people turning up. See if those lights went down and Jim Cornette was standing there with the tennis racket, I would lose my fucking mind. I would lose my fucking mind, because that would be, oh my God, they've made that happen. And but yeah, talking about that main event picture, mate, and the idea of them coming in, it's just part of the show now. It's not the main event until they can figure out what to do with jump. What is the end game? I would love to know. There's an end game. There's an end game. We're going to put it on Swerve, but what show is so big that you think that's the one we're holding off for? Is it All In? Are they holding off for All In?
And you know what's going to happen by the time that they finally put it on Swerve? There's going to be a new toy that everybody wants to play with. There's going to be somebody else that they go, oh, it should be such and such that's world champion. It's going to be like, oh, I don't know. I'm just going to throw a name out there. I'm not saying it will be him, but like, oh, Ospreay should be world champion by now. You know, that's the situation we're going to find ourselves in by the time Swerve has the belt at this fucking rate.
Which is clearly what we're going to come back to. We're going to come back to Ospreay at one point, or there's going to be some unification of the titles. We're going to see the international title and Kenny unifying that and then going after the world title. I don't know. Maybe that's somewhere that they could do with that. I mean, that would be a triple crown of AEW and just making it the one big undisputed title. Maybe that would be a good way of going about it. Get Kenny Omega back in that mix, which I think you could do with, to be honest. I'm not a Moxley fan, I have to say. And that's slightly unfair. Moxley's this version of Moxley, I've got no time for. That's
what I agree with.
I've got no time for it. But we do have some questions coming in. Shall we get to some questions, my friends?
Yeah, I love some questions. Variety is the spice of life, as they say.
So they said. Let's see. Sorry, someone's just sent me a message. Go on, stop.
Is it a question by any chance?
This is not a question, so I'm going to go to my question, which we've kind of covered a little bit here already. In my opinion, this year, this is from Chris Brooker, our friend there. He said, in my opinion, this year's WrestleMania was always going to struggle the near 4-year build for last year. Do you ever think we'll see the return of long-term storytelling like that in wrestling? Would you like it? And it's like, well, the answer is, we're in a new era. Yeah. So if you consider that would have to start now for WrestleMania 45.
The WWE need to find their next big thing that was like the bloodline. But one thing I will say is, for sure, we'll see it at some point. Triple H loves it. Triple H loves his callbacks and his long-term stories. You know, he's not like Vince, who Vince would tell long stories, but we've seen how many times Vince would like scrap up things or pretend things never happened. There would be interactions on screen,
completely.
And he would directly instruct commentators, don't even dare mention that they interacted with each other a month ago. Let's pretend it never happened. Vince loved doing that. Whereas Triple H, there's always a callback, there's always a reason, there's always a story there. And I think eventually we'll get back to what the whole point of 39 and 40 was, where there was the Roman and Cody and blah, 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 whatever. But we're moving away from the bloodline, aren't we? We're moving away from that story. So what is going to be next? What is going to be the next bloodline? What's going to be the next story that lasts 5 years, as you've said?
I guess it depends on what version of the long-term storyline telling we see. Like I say, there has to be another Cody, there has to be another Roman, there has to be, and from what we've seen, you know, that process is going to have to start now. You know what I mean? Like, Punk is going to be 50, and I think maybe even over 50 in 5 years' time.
In a couple of years, yep, that's right.
Where does Punk fit in? AJ's the same way. Yep. Kevin Owens is the same way. You know, Randy Orton is the same way. I'm not saying this to scare anyone. I'm saying this because, like, who's next? These guys will be the building block to whoever the next star is. So we have to have long-term storytelling. I guess it just depends what your definition of that is. We're not TikTok. We're not like it's not like little snippets of storyline that we have to do every week. I think though that's how it will be presented. I think long-term storyline will go on in the background, but you've also got to be careful of, like you said, people getting pushed down people's throats. You can turn and go,
yeah,
Jay is your next world champion, but Jay's potentially going to be world champion at WrestleMania, right? So where's Jay in 5 years' time?
Yeah.
Jay's the one that's on his back.
So I like how you brought up TikTok. One thing that I'm very cautious about, and WWE needs to make sure they never lean into, is the fact that the new generations of human beings, let alone wrestling fans, their minds are conditioned to short-term things, to TikTok. The attention span the attention span of people is gradually wearing away because of TikTok. So let's make sure we don't lean into TikTok storytelling. We do not need any of that.
No, we don't. So I think some of the long-term storytelling kind of happened organically. So I think we're going to have to wait for the next story that clearly hooks on.
I agree.
I feel like you can't
force it. Yeah, you can't force it. It needs to come about naturally, right? Because the Bloodline saga. Let's be real for a minute here. When this whole saga started in the COVID years, when they changed Roman Reigns to the Tribal Chief, I doubt Vince McMahon was sitting there thinking, "Oh, in 5 years this is going to lead to Cody Rhodes coming back and blah blah blah, and there'll be a Bloodline civil war at Money in the Bank 2023, and we'll have war games where CM." But that none of that was planned. So it's natural. It's organic.
So I think I can see a return. I can see a return to that type of story. I think we're hearkening for something that realistically we've only seen once in this generation. If we're honest, we've only seen it once in this generation. So I think these other stories to tell. I would love to see a civil war with NXT. Would love to see some other things going on there. I mean, you look down the card as well. But for all you know, one of the Creeds could be the next world heavyweight champion. Do you know what I mean? They could. We just don't know. So, and saying that, we could see elements of long. It depends if people want to tie up stuff that's already happened previously. Like, is there anyone that could be brought back into WWE to finish off a story, to finish off a storyline? Is Hulk Hogan as racist as to say? These are all questions we're not entirely sure on.
Ricochet will return and get his revenge for his indefinite injury Braun Breaker caused him. That'll happen.
Oh man, let's make that happen. I mean, there's Braun Breaker. Is Braun Breaker the next big thing, no pun intended, after Brock Lesnar said he was retired? Did you see that? Big Brock's going, like, when he was asked when he come back to WWE, "No, I'm done, I'm retired." What does that mean? How many people have said that? How many people have said that?
Many people have said that.
Yeah. Prick will probably
so we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see where the stories go.
Yes, Prick will probably turn up on Monday Night Raw. And saying that, did you hear one name that has been rumoured as the potential, as potentially being brought in as Randy's surprise opponent?
Are you going to say Rusev?
Rusev.
Yes, Rusev. He's signed.
What do you think?
Listen, I mean, as far as replacements go, Rusev is a very good option as long as they do it right. What version of Rusev do we see? What kind of match and story comes from it following the entrance of Rusev? How do they build on the initial pop of his return? There is so many questions that come out of a Rusev return that they need to get right. A few weeks ago, came on this podcast, and I just remember saying to you, I wasn't that bothered about a Rusev return to WWE, but now I am. Now that I've heard that he's signed, I'm like, holy shit, I actually was bothered this whole time because he was a drop ball. He was a guaranteed world champion in my eyes all those years ago.
Yeah.
So if he can come in with the right attitude and WWE can use him in the right ways, I mean, listen, who says we can't make something good out of a Rusev and Randy Orton match at Mania? And listen, part of me wants to. It's just they won't do it because of the current climate in the world. But I would love for the lights to dim, the tank to roll out, and the Russian national anthem to play, and Rusev coming out with Lana with a Russian flag in hand. If Vince McMahon was still there, I guarantee he would have done it. But
I don't think we're going to get away with that. I just don't think we're going to.
No.
Although I could see lights out, we hear the horns, it's Rusev Day, but then he can't call it. Like, are they going to call him Rusev? Is he going to be Miro? I would love it if he was Rusev.
I think he'll be Rusev. I
would love it if he was Rusev the Redeemer.
Yeah, that would work. I think that would work.
Bring a little bit of AEW's over with him, you know, and you can still celebrate Rusev Day and all that type of thing. I've come here to save WWE from itself. I've come here to save WWE, and I'm starting with Randy Orton. Does he beat Randy Orton? I don't know. It's one of those things. We all love a surprise WrestleMania debut, but then the bell rings, so I'm not exactly sure if it works. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like
it's certainly not as big as what Cody's return was.
Yeah, and they could try and make it big, but it wouldn't be big. It wouldn't be big. And anything can happen in pro wrestling in this day and age. Let me just check out. I think we've got a couple more questions just quickly. Oh, somebody else messaged me about something else.
Itchy nose here, man.
It's about other things. It's because I'm patching other messages. Because I'm not a nice man.
What you like? What are you like?
I'm not a nice man. There's no two ways about it. A couple of other ones coming out of here. Oh, this is a good one. You'll like this one. So,
okay.
We've kind of had this before, but with all these sports ties in with WWE, do you see the next time they're over in Europe, could they actually do a proper tie-in with a football club over here? Rangers belt excluded, of course. Do you think we could ever see that happening with some athletes or some football athletes coming into WWE and doing a turn? I assume you mean turn by match. Who would be big enough in the UK that they could be a opponent or a wrestler?
I've always said this. I feel like we're going through a transition period in world sports altogether. We've just came off the back of an era where football had Messi and Ronaldo, where NFL had Tom Brady, where NBA had, and still does, but LeBron James is on the way out.
Yeah.
I feel like all these sports are going through a bit of a transition where the stars have just kind of, and we've got guys that are big. You've got your Mo Salahs, you've got your, I don't know, you've got your Erling Haalands and whatnot. You've got these guys, but they're not Messi and Ronaldo. They're not LeBron James. They're not, you know. The thing is with WWE, I don't think they're willing to pull the trigger on that quite yet because they don't have someone that will pop in America. They need someone who will pop in America. And that's just them being, like, for example, they will bring Tyrese Halliburton on from the NBA. They'll bring Ja Morant in from the NBA. Over here, we don't have a clue. Well, the average Joe. I mean, do you know who Tyrese Halliburton is, Billy?
No, not really. Not really, if I'm honest.
So they'll be a handful. They bring these guys in, and it's selfish on their regard because they bring in Tyrese Halliburton, who the whole of America knows, but outside of America, it's only NBA fans who know him. But over here, I don't think they're willing to do that. I don't think they're willing to bring in somebody from football who is who's not known in America. I just don't see it happening. I think you would have had to have capitalized that on a point in time where, you know, you had Beckham playing or you had Ronaldo playing. They've got to have a look about them as well. Like, let's be real for a second here. They're not going to put Lionel Messi in a wrestling ring. Lionel Messi's like 5'3", built like the side of a fiver. He's not going to get in a wrestling ring. They have to have somewhat of a look. So I don't think so anytime soon. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. But if they want to get Brendan Rodgers in the ring, I'm all for
it. We got one in here from Aidan who said, what result in the Raw women's title match is going to be best going forward? Personally, I think Bianca is going heel, possibly with Naomi's help, would be a good direction to go down for the months ahead.
I like it. I like it. I think that would be
the decision you would want.
Anybody but Rhea. It's got to be anybody but Rhea. It could be Io, it could be Bianca, and that's no disrespect to Rhea Ripley, who I'm not going to suddenly turn on like half the internet is, because it seems like now, you know, this time a year ago, Rhea Ripley was the best thing from sliced bread, and then now bang, she's hated. But on that regard, I think that a Rhea win would damage her stock. I really do. So give her time. Yeah, that's it. No, cool her off a little bit, let her do other things outside the title picture and win her estranged fans back, apparently. But I think that for storytelling purposes, it's got to be Bianca or Rio for me, and I'd probably lean towards Bianca.
Yes, yeah, I think so. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love EO. I would actually quite like the story to be EO retaining, if I'm completely honest with you.
He was my favourite of the three.
Yeah, I think that would be a happy story because then she'll have bet these two continue being women's champion, and then the feud that is born out of this can go
Yep.
on. Then we can have
Yep.
heel Bianca or heel Rhea. Let's not necessarily take it off the table. These guys feuding with Rhea in a top tier match that doesn't involve the championship. I mean, you have to ask the question: does Bianca really need it? Does Rhea really need it? Would EO and a whole set of brand new opponents and brand new storylines be more interesting?
I
I'm
think that
chucking
EO
that out.
could. Any of them could, but I think EO especially could really help heighten some of these talents who are on the cusp of being world title worthy competitors. I think EO can get in a ring with them and help put the spotlight more on them while defending a championship. Whereas if they're in the ring with Rhea or Bianca, because they're so kind of entertainment dominated, maybe that takes the shine off these guys a little bit. So EO being in the ring with them, I think, could really help.
Yeah, so yeah, totally. If I were to give my 2 cents, yep, let's do the heel turn, let's do all the storyline business, let's keep the championship out of it. Yeah. So then you've got the best of both worlds. The women's division gets to go in this whole new set of feuds, this whole new set of characters. We get, I mean, hell, Rhea versus Bianca, cage match, Rhea versus.
I think
Bianca.
that's going to. I think this could ultimately be leading to Rhea and Bianca at SummerSlam. To be honest, I can see that happening.
Let's go for it. Give them a big main event storyline. These of the two competitors that are probably ready to go, have a crossover appeal, everything you need. Let's do it. Goths versus Naomi and Bianca. I love it. I don't know. I want to see Team Glow, but they don't really go by that anymore. So I was trying to think.
If they're heel, they can't be Glow. If they're heel,
it doesn't really work, does it? But we haven't had a heel. We haven't. I mean, yes, you're going to turn around and go, well, "Where's Jade Cargill falling with all this?" She can, though. That's the thing. Like, she can go after the title. She can be involved in this feud, and it can be a big money feud. Does it need the championship? Not really. It doesn't.
There's different avenues and paths they can go down.
And I think it's a cliche in women's. It's one that they need to break out of now, which is the championship's the center for the women's division. The championship's the center for the women's division. Yes, of course, it's the hugely important thing, but there can be other feuds. But there's nothing worse when you see a card and they go, "There's one women's match on it," and it's for the world title.
You're spot on the money, because there was that report that came out like a month or two ago where it was like a lot of WWE women had been voicing their concerns that everything was too title centric, and outside of the title picture there was just no motion. So it's a real way to help that.
Yeah, and this could be the launch of a brand new division, a brand new elements for the division.
And we're hearing it here, and apparently Evolution 2 is happening this summer, so they need to build stuff for that.
Come on, Stephanie, come on. Triple H, come on, whoever the fuck is in charge of the women's division. Remember when Stephanie was in charge of the women's division? That lasted about 3.5 minutes.
That lasted as long as
she could put up with it.
You know I'm not even going to finish what I was going to say, but nice. Any more questions, Billy? Any more questions? I
don't have any my end, although I will say I'm asking the same question as everyone in America. Why is Linda McMahon in charge of the education system? She couldn't read AI. She read it as A1. She kept referring to AI as A1, which is a fucking steak sauce in America. So that's worrying. That's worrying. That's worrying. So I want to say America, it's kind of your fault. But if you could sort out your shit, that would be great. A wee message from us here on Wrestling Forever, showing all the love to you. Sort your shit out. Although, thank you for giving us a Universal Studios. It better be good.
Especially because I am planning to go to America for WrestleMania next year. I would like to actually make it, so please sort out whatever is happening. Thanks.
Yes, definitely. But we are going to be back. There's going to be a little WrestleMania centric. Ryan's had the most amazing idea where we're going to rip apart some of the WrestleMania, merch and other merch that WWE. I mean, all I'm going to say is you don't need to make everything into merch.
Not at all.
You can take it easy. Not everything needs to. Oh, look at that! What's that over there? Was that a coaster? Was a Nia Jax coaster? How exciting! You don't. It's also that shit that does my fucking head in, Ryan. It's that they'll just go. I just stick any cunt's face on that. Do you know what I mean? Just
as long as there's a way, if they can make a quick buck off it, that's all that matters.
Hey,
that's
look at that! It's look at that! It's a Stephanie Valcour spare petrol cap. How exciting! How exciting!
Hubcaps, Otis hubcaps for your car, mate. Otis hubcaps.
I'd probably buy that.
But it's a big week. It's a big week. We've got it. We'll have that. We'll have WrestleMania predictions, obviously. We'll probably have the main podcast. I might even jump on and do some sort of WrestleMania themed tier list. We'll try and get as much as we can through the week building into WrestleMania. It's a huge week. And then, of course, we're going to have to somehow meet up first on Monday via the internet and review whatever goes down. So
yes. Oh, my God. Oh my God, man, there's so much going on. And then what happens? Nothing. The world ends. There's nothing after WrestleMania.
I don't even get going to WrestleMania 42 because the world is done.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. To any of our friends that are heading over to Las Vegas, you're mental. Oh, that's all I've got to say. You're absolutely fucking mental. But although you did have a report, just before we sign off, you did have a report that WrestleMania ticket sales have apparently really jumped up.
Massively.
That's good to hear, because apparently at one point that stadium was dead.
Well, I think the last time we sat down to do the podcast, there was like 25,000, 30,000 tickets, and now both nights are 50k. So it's good stuff.
Solid. There's going to be a lot of big black couples about it, I get a feeling.
Only 10,000 seats both nights to fill. I think they'll end up doing it if they put those prices down at the last minute. I can see the locals, Californians, Nevadians. I can see them filling those last 10,000 seats for both nights if they build and do the right things over the next week.
What would be the figure? What would be the figure for you that would get you to go, right, that's it, let's go to WrestleMania? $10, $20, $30, $40?
10. Listen, I think if I was a local, I think that if I had for a kind of nosebleed seat, I think you could make me part with like $100 for a nosebleed seat at the last minute. I think I'd go for that. I think I'd do that for both nights. So $200, I'd do that.
Just as long as you don't get sat next to some idiot that goes, "Is Hulk Hogan still in this?" And it's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, please. I don't want any of that. None of that.
Right, but don't forget to check out, of course, Ryan Fitzsimons on his hugely successful, the number one Celtic podcast over on YouTube. You can check that out. And you can check me out on my socials doing the various different things I'm going to be doing kids comedy this weekend. That's a mistake. And
I was about to say, if you're in Birmingham, go and see Billy.
Oh, no. If you're in Birmingham, come and see me. Unless it's Sunday, when I'm going to be doing kids comedy. And then I'm hosting Roast Battles Scotland, where I got a shout out on the official Roast Battles podcast over in California for my frankly shocking fucking attitude. Because I have said,
and it wouldn't be done any other way, Billy.
I had said, I hope these Roast Battles fucking kill each other. I really do. I hope they drop dead. But all it's going to say is, we'll see you next time here on Wrestling Forever. Stay safe and look forward to WrestleMania. See you later.